Okay, so this is the first video in the mini tutorial on using the terminal in Raspberry Pi. So the first thing I'm going to be doing here is to open the terminal, but let me just explain quickly that in order to do this tutorial, I'm using a screen capture app or software called Vocal Screen, and you can see it's running right there. You can see it on the menu. To install this software, I used the command line, so I ran the command sudo space apt-get space install space vocal screen. So if you do a Google search, you should be able to find it very easily. In case you want to install it in your Pi to do your own screen capture. But let's jump into the terminal. So this had like a surface level, like, you know, a little tryout or test with the terminal, so forth. And one of the things that I asked you to do was to do a hello world using echo. So this was one of the first commands that we learned. And echo is a command that really doesn't work by itself. You need to add some kind of value. So we use the quotation marks and we add a string so we can print something, right? So, and the thing that we print was hello world. So I can print that myself. So there you go, it prints the second line, hello world. So it's pretty simple, straightforward, right? Let me give you a variant on that. So I can also do echo and say, put the first quotation mark and say, hi, maybe how are you doing? And then I don't close that quotation. And then what happens is after I click enter, it goes to the next line with a little bracket. So it's kind of a need to keep on writing more stuff because I didn't close the string. So I can say, how are you doing? Maybe I can say that I am, oh, type that right, sorry, my keyboard's kind of funny. I'm fine. How are you? And then maybe I can close it here, and if I hit enter again, you can see that it's printing, but this time it's printing on separate lines. So it's just a variant on the echo command that I wanted to show you. One other command that's very simple, straightforward, is date, and it'll give you the date, like today's date. So it's Thursday. I'm recording this on Thursday, February 25th. And currently it's 12:05 p.m. in here. A variant or a close parent to the date command, it's the cal command for calendar. And this will give me the calendar, like the month and the year, and also today's date, which is the 25th February 2021 or 21, right? A variant of cal would be, well, give me a calendar sometime, I don't know, maybe as an important date, so maybe month 02 in 1975. What happened then and there? Well, it was when I was born, February 75. So it shows me the calendar for that year in 1975, and then I can see that I was born on a Saturday. Cool. Let's see what else we have in here. One of the things that we used too was sudo space apt install to install an application that I had already downloaded as part of a package. So when you run Raspberry Pi for the first time, it connects to the internet and it does a lot of downloading, updating, and upgrading. When it does that, it gets a lot of packages. So these packages, they come with like potentially software, like potential software that you can install, and LibreOffice was one of them. So I ran this command and wrote LibreOffice, and then I could install it. I'm just recapping this as a way of, well, recapping, reviewing. If I use my arrows on my keyboard, and this is kind of interesting, I can actually scroll back to all of the commands that I have written today. So I'm just using the arrow up, and I've done some writing before this tutorial, and I can see that I can scroll through my commands, and this could be useful too. Let's say I'm starting to populate my screen a lot, and I don't like that. I want to clean it. I can use the command clear to clear the screen. All right, so that's a useful one. And also, if I want to leave the terminal, I can do an exit, and then it closes the terminal. All right, so we got a bunch of interesting commands there. So I'm gonna start it over again, and then I'm gonna adjust the screen size a little bit because I want to open another window. And I want to open the file manager window and put it on the side here so we can see it. All right, so what I'm looking at here, I'm looking at actually the structures of folders and files in my system, right? Now I'm going to be correlating. I'm going to be doing things in the terminal that will actually also make me look at those files, not in a graphic user interface way, in a text-based way, but this is how computer programming was always done, and it has been done since its inception by writing commands. It also gives you more control once you get used to it and you're learning more about it. It gives you access to hidden files and areas in your system. It also makes it more dangerous in a sense, right? So you have to be kind of careful with it. You have to learn and know what you're doing so that you don't damage your system by mistake. One thing I was mentioning before is that Raspberry Pi is such a cool space for learning, because if you have a problem in your system, what do? Well, you just run the Raspberry Pi imager again on your SD card, and you have a system up and running again, right? So that's a great thing. So it kind of creates this safe space for maybe, feeling free to commit some accidents and just try things out. But anyway, what am I looking at here? I'm looking at the file manager, and it highlights a place, and the place is a folder that says Pi. Well, that's my root user directory, and it's exactly the root user directory. When I say directory, I mean that folder specifically. That it's that place where I am at in the terminal. There's a way to check that, to make sure that it is that place that I'm in, and it's by the command pwd. Pwd stands for present working directory. If I hit enter, it'll show me that I am in the main folder home, and inside of that I'm in the user folder Pi. Pi is the name of the user folder that it's set by default when you do the first Raspberry Pi OS installation, right? And so I'm in there, right? But if I look at the file manager, I see that I have a bunch of folders inside that. Can I look at them? Can I have access to them? Yes. There's also a very useful command, which is ls, which is for listing. So I will be listing everything that's in that present working directory. So if I hit enter, it'll show me the things that I can see as a graphic interface elements on the left. I can see here on the terminal, I can see that I have a bookshelf, I have documents, I have a music, and all of those in blue are folders, pictures, templates. I have just one file that it's out.wav, or a wave file. It's a sound file, but it's really a lot of I have in there. So I've mentioned that I have folders and files, an audio file. With ls, I can actually add certain things to the command to make it execute the command a little bit differently, like options. If I do a dash F, uppercase F, it'll actually show me the same stuff, the same information, the same listing. But now, by looking at the / I can see what's a folder. So I can see the bookshelf, documents, music, pictures, templates, desktop downloads, public and videos, those are folders, and out.wave, it's a file. Another way to do that, it's by, or another option I have with the ls is the -a. If I use the -a, I'm actually starting to look into the hidden stuff, like the hidden files, the things that I normally don't have access through the GUI. The graphic interface doesn't show me that. So I start to get into more of that kind of interesting stuff. So everything that has a dot before those names, those are hidden files that I can see here. Now it's showing me them in columns, but maybe I want to see those -a as more of a long list. And if I add an L to the -a, I'll be able to see it as a long list. And now you can see it's actually pretty long here now. And it gives me more information as well. So I can see all the hidden files, I can see the folders, and I can see things like when it's been created or changed, size of the files, which are here. Those are in bytes. I can see the user who created it, who has originally created it, the group, and the series of codes and numbers here. The first letter tells me, a D tells me that it's a directory, right? So bookshelf starts with a D, it's a directory. The next three numbers or letters, they show me that the user, Pi, this guy right here, can read, write, and execute anything in that folder. And then if I look at the next three characters, which in this case is an R, a dash, and an X, I can see that everybody in that group, Pi group, will be able to read and execute, not write. And then finally, the last three letters or characters in that code will tell me that everybody else in the system would be able to read and execute from that folder. So that's the kind of information that we have here. I could also look at this by just doing a -L without the A, so it's a little bit more clean without all of those hidden files. Now, we can, as you can kind of get a sense, there are possible combinations, right? So I can do that with a -L, and it gives me the list, long list format with the hidden files. What if I do that and combine it with the uppercase F, which gives me what is a directory by adding a /? Well, that also works, right? So there's a possibility of combining those options and getting the information being given to us or filtered to us in a different way. Now let me clear this real quick and go back to a more clear space. Now, if I look at the file manager and I look at my folders, I see that I don't have too many things in here, but I have a few things. Like inside documents, I have a hello world docx that I created in LibreOffice. So maybe I want to be able to navigate to that. I want to be able to actually get it listed here in the terminal. Let's see if that's possible. So again, I'm going to start with the pwd just to get used to doing that. So I'm in Pi. So let's say I want to go and see what's inside documents. So I can do something like this. I can do a list and then type documents, and then I can either put a / or not. It's a folder, so I'll put a /, and it'll tell me exactly what's inside that folder, which is the hello.docx file. Now I'm looking at the file manager, and I know that there's a documents folder in there, but if I just want to work from the terminal, I would do probably an ls first, and I'll say, oh, there's a documents, okay, and I'm going to do an ls, .q, and then I would press tab, which will then autofill documents, because it's the only word that starts with the .q in that directory. So it's a little bit smart in that sense. So I can use tab to do autofill, so I don't have to type everything all of the time, right? So there's a way of listing inside those folders so I can take a look at them. There's also a way of changing directory, CDs for changing directory. I know that right now I'm in the user root directory, which is pi. But if I do a CD, I can actually go into documents. Now, I have changed my directory. Now I am literally inside documents, right? And you can see the documents now, it's showing up here on my command line. And if I do an ls here, I can see the file that I have inside documents, which is the hello world file. Okay, so you can navigate with the cd command, which literally stands for change directory. Now, if I want to go back, let's say I want to go back, what do? I do a // to go back up one directory. So if you look at the file manager, I'm in documents. If I go back up, I go back to pi, right? In theory. And here we are, pwd, I'm back in pi. Let's say from pi, I want to actually go back up another one. It's going to take me to the home directory, which is a another main directory here. If I want to keep going back to my user directory, which is pi, it's something very common. I always want to go back there because that's where your stuff is. You can do a cd space and then a tilde. Let me see if I can get that tilde to work. It takes to the root, the user root directory, which is pi. So it's a nice shortcut to that. Let's see what other interesting commands I have to share with you today. I was thinking that maybe, well, manual. I think it's an interesting one for reference. And the command is man, and then I would do a space, ls, so the manual is listed as a list, as if you have like an index. And then, as you can see, this is the whole list of commands. And the terminal, you can see the dash uppercase F, which we used. We also used the -a, which is over here. It shows me all of the hidden files. And you can see these are the options. And yeah, it's a great way to kind of, learn new commands and do some research. Now, it has multiple pages. I can press H for help or Q to quit. So I want to quit the manual now. So I'm gonna press Q. So it quits instantly. Now, I think we have covered like a good series of basic commands. So I'm gonna close this first short lesson on the terminal with an exercise, and this will be part of your homework. And then I'm gonna end this short tutorial, and then I'm gonna come back with another short tutorial on the terminal, because I'm recording these short tutorials in bits and pieces. So let me introduce the assignment here. So I'm gonna use the echo command, actually write it on the screen. So the first thing I want you to do, and again, this will be part of your homework, and what you need to do is to do the homework and take screenshots, or take a picture of the screen and document it, document the steps of the homework, of your progress in our Raspberry Pi forum. Okay, so this is gonna go into the forum. So the first thing I want to do is to check the directory you are in, right? This will be the first thing. And then once you do that, I want you to list its content. And then once you do that, I want you to list content again, comma, but showing long list format like like that longer list format that I showed you here with the hidden files. And the folder dash file information. So the folder dash file information is when I get the list, but I get the forward slashes next to where the folders are. So it gives me that type of information. So this will be the closing of this first bit of the tutorial today. And this will be the first bit of your homework in the terminal, which you need to do, document, and then post in the forum. I'll see you. Alright, so welcome to the second part of the terminal tutorial on the Raspberry Pi. And on the second session, we'll be looking into some pretty interesting things, a continuation of the basic commands that we looked on the first session. In this session, we're going to be doing things like creating folders, creating files, copying, moving, removing, and also creating a directory, creating folder, a directory, downloading to that directory, downloading from the internet, activating Git, so I can actually clone something from GitHub, and doing an installation of VS Code, which is an awesome code editor that you can use on your Pi. And these things, or a lot of these things, will be part of your homework for next week. So, all right, folks. So let's get to it. So, so just to begin with, I'm going to do a pwd just to confirm I'm in the Pi folder, the main user folder. I'm going to do a ls to look at the stuff I have inside that folder. To the left, you can see the file manager confirming that those are the elements that I have in that specific directory. First thing I want to show you is how to create a directory with the command mkdir. So mkdir is the command for creating folders, and then space, and then just think of a name for a folder, and I'm going to call this new folder. Hit enter, and as you can see on the file manager to the left, this new folder has been created. Okay, so we had the ability to do that through the terminal. So let me go into this folder now. So I'm going to do a cd, change directory, and then new, pressing tab to do an autocomplete, and then enter. I'm in new folder, and now I'm going to show you how to actually create files. The command for creating files will be touch. Touch is the command, and then a space, and then think of a name for the file. I'm going to call this file A, just a letter, and then dot, and then I'll give it a format, file format. It's good to assign a file format, so we're actually creating something that's a bit more tangible. So I'm gonna make a text file, a txt. Then I'll hit enter. Now I don't see anything yet, but if I do a ls, I can confirm that the a.txt file has been created. Now let me create a couple more files, and I'll actually show how you can create more than one at a single time. So touch space b.xlm space c.html, enter, ls. Now you can see that those three files, they have been created in that folder. I can also create a folder inside this new folder, and this will be for my downloads, so I'm going to call it my downloads. And if I do an ls, I can see that I have three files and a folder called my downloads. Now for the confirmation, using the file manager, double click on that, and as you can see, I have those 3 files and folder. Continue. Let's say I want to make a copy of a file. cp is the command for copying. Cp space, and then the name of the file I want to copy, a.txt, and then space for the name of the copied file, and I'm gonna call this copy a copy.txt. Hit enter. S. Now as you can see, I have a new file named acopy.txt, which is an exact copy of a.txt file. Now let's say I want to perhaps move a file into another area, maybe into another directory, right? The command is mv to move, and then space, and then the name of the file that I want to move. In this case, I want to move acopy.txt, and then space, and then the destination folder for acopy, which in this demonstration will be basically, I'm going to put it in my downloads. I'll put it into the my downloads folder and then hit enter. Now if I do an ls on this directory, you'll see that acopy is gone. If I do a ls in space my downloads, you'll see that acopy.txt is exactly there. I can actually also look at the file manager just to have the confirmation. Very well. Now let's do something else. Let me clear my screen. So let's say I want to actually delete something or remove something. The command for removing, it's rm and space. Be very careful with this command because in the terminal, if you remove or delete something, you are removing it for good. It doesn't go into a trash can and then it stays there until you decide to actually delete it. This is complete delete. Once you press enter, it's completely gone. So be very careful with the rm command. In my case, I'll be removing c.html, enter, and now you can see the document, it's completely gone. If I do a ls here, I have only 2 files and folder. I can also use rm to remove a directory. Let's say rm my downloads, and then hit enter, and then it'll say, I was expecting this already, that it can't remove it because it's a directory and it actually has also a folder in it. Remember that we have a copy inside that folder. So how do we actually do like a big remove with the folder and everything inside it? It'll be rm space -r for recursive remove, and then the name of it, my downloads, and if I hit enter, it's gone. It's completely gone forever. Now for the next step, I want to do possibly a download from the internet. I want to download an image and show you how you can do that also through the terminal. So I'll be downloading into that folder, so let me create that folder again, mkdir space my downloads. So it's back into existence now, just empty, completely empty. And I'll clear this up. And then what I want to do is to download something into my downloads. So I'm going to move into it. So change directory to my downloads. And now I'm in my downloads. The next step will be to find an element to download. So I'm going to go to the internet. I'm going to use Chromium. I'm going to look for an image, which will be the Raspberry Pi logo. I'll copy the URL of that logo, and then I'll use a command here to download it into this folder. Okay, so now I'm in Chromium. I'm gonna search for Raspberry Pi logo. All right, so I just did a quick search on the internet for the Raspberry Pi logo. And let me look for something that I like. Well, there's one that's actually from raspberrypi.org. So maybe I can download that one. Let me try to right click on this image and then copy the image address. So let me try to copy that image address and then go back to the terminal. Here we are. And let me look for, well, let me make sure that I'm in the right place because I kind of restarted this and I'm in the wrong place now. I'm at Pi, so I need to go to CD, new folder, and this is my new folder. I have my things that I created in there, and also I have my downloads. So let me go into my downloads so I can download this image. All right, so I'm gonna put it inside this folder. And for the, I'm gonna use a command called curl, C-U-R-L, right? And then dash uppercase O. And then I'm gonna paste that HTML, hopefully. It didn't come. Okay, so let me try to copy that URL again. Actually, let me go to the page. Make sure that I get it. Here we go. I'm gonna copy it from here. Copy that URL. Go back to the terminal. See if it pastes. Yeah. Okay, so it's been pasted. Let me hit enter. And there you go. I should have been successful in this and have actually downloaded something directly from the internet through the terminal. That's pretty cool. So if I do an ls now, I should be able to see the PNG image that has been downloaded. So take note of that. This will be part of the homework too. It's kind of a cool thing to do. It's really exciting. Now let's see if we can do something other than that. Okay, that being done, let's go to the next step, which is connecting our Pi to GitHub. So I'm going to go to github.com. At this point, you should be familiar with GitHub, which is a platform for collaboration, essentially. It's a huge global repository of open source projects. The tagline of the company is where the world builds software, and that is actually very much true. As we have learned recently, open source actually it's a huge ubiquitous part of our technological ecosystem, and a lot of it's built collaboratively on GitHub. So what we're going to do is we're going to be downloading or cloning a repository which is on GitHub through the terminal. So let me look for a repo or a repository to download. And so I'm just doing a quick search of popular Raspberry Pi GitHub repos. And yeah, it looks like I don't have anything here that I actually like. So maybe, yeah, I think I need to refine my search. Yeah, I'm actually looking, let me see if I remember. I'm looking for GitHub. I think the repo was called Free Programming Books. So let's look for that. Yeah, it's basically a repository of open source programming books. And I just found it. So clicking on the link takes me to github.com and the page of the repository. So if you do this through the UI, you would basically click on that green button and download a zip with the repo. But you know, GitHub, it's one of the reasons why it's an amazing platform is that you can automate a lot of its processes, and it's also runs in the background, so you can almost seamlessly do updates to your repositories, and therefore this creates kind of an ongoing living document. So in order to actually have this working, the process it's a little different from just a straight up download. So I need to actually make sure that I have Git installed in my machine. I guess what I'm going to do first is just to go back to my root folder, the user's root, and I'm going to try a command here just to check and see if I have the package, if I have Git in my package list at this moment. So I'm using sudo, so I have all of the privileges to do this sort of installation. And the command would be apt-get install git. So let's run it. It's reading the package lists and the information it's done. Now the good news is that it's already being implemented. It's part of the package list that we have upgraded once we did the OS installation. So that's great. So it's already in there. So I can right away start using it. The command for cloning is git space clone. And then I have to put the URL of the repo in here. So I'm going to go to the browser, copy that address, and then go back to the terminal, paste it in, and run git clone. Now it's cloning. Now I can see the amount of files, the objects have been received. So it's done now, it's been downloaded. It's a repo with 10.22 megabytes of size. If I navigate through the GUI, I can see that I have free-programming books in there. So that's cool. I'm going to do an ls, also see that I have the folder free programming books. Actually, I decided to move this folder into my new folder. So I'm going to do an NV and move it to new folder. And let me look at that. So looking at the GUI now, yeah, it's inside new folder. And oh, you know what, to make it, yeah, I guess more organized, I'll move it once again to my downloads. So MV space free-programming books space my downloads. And I'll do that from new folder. So cd new folder, MV free programming books space my downloads. Awesome. Now free programming books, it's inside my downloads. That's what I wanted. Great job. Okay, so now for the last part of this lesson. Today I want to assign you a homework. But there is one command that I didn't share yet, and I just want to quickly share with you, which is sudo -reboot. If if you want to reboot your Pi through the terminal, you can by using this command. You can also do a sudo space shutdown -h for halting everything, and then just say now. Now the sudo shutdown comes with a time specification, and now it's basically saying doing that now, but you can actually set a timer to do your shutdown at another time. You basically time it if you like, but if you do that, basically you are halting all of the possible running applications, and you shut down your computer. Okay, for the last part, I just want to give you a homework. So, like I did last time, I'm going to be typing it here using echo. Okay, so the first thing would be make a new folder. Make a new folder. And then download an image in it. Okay, like I did, just like I did. And then possibly install Git and see if it's installed already. It should be installed already. So basically you follow my steps. Then you can clone a Git repo. Alright, so I cloned the free programming books. You can do that same cloning or something else you might find interesting. And that would be basically the gist of the homework for this second session of the tutorial. One thing that I thought would be also interesting to do would be to do an installation of a really nice programming software. Okay, so there's a really good code editor called VS Code, Visual Studio Code, which now actually comes packaged into Raspberry Pi, which is awesome. And then I'm going to put this here as a challenge to you: install VS Code in your machine, because in the next episode of our Raspberry Pi series, we're going to be doing some Python programming, and I'm going to show you how to use VS Code for that, and even add some extensions to VS Code so it runs beautifully, and it's a really great tool. Hit enter. Oh, actually, quotation marks, and here we go. Make a new folder, download an image in it, install Git, clone a Git repo, install VS Code. See you later. Okay, just to kind of do a quick test here and install VS Code myself in my machine, I ask you to do that as a challenge. So maybe you did some research how to do that through the terminal. Maybe you didn't yet. Let me see if I can do it here as an add-on to this video. See if we can install VS Code on the terminal. So I'm gonna do a so the command that I found to install it could be sudo apt-get apt-get. Actually, it's not apt-get, sorry, it's just apt because, yeah, like I mentioned before, it's part of the packages that we got when we booted Raspberry Pi for the first time. So we downloaded that already. So it's apt install. Yeah, it's code and then -y. Reading the package lists, done. It's being found under new packages. And now it's done. The download and installation of VS Code is done. Very good. Now let's see if we can run it. So I'm going to go to the top left, the Berry menu, and then programming. And I have Genie, Tony Python, IDE, which are also code editors. And as you can see, Visual Studio Code is there. Pretty cool, huh? Now, let me open it. Okay, so it's opening VS Studio. It's taking a couple of seconds to load. And it's running. Amazing, look at that. Awesome. Now, we just turned your Raspberry Pi in a programming computer. Going back to the terminal now, just recapping the instructions for the homework, the second part of the homework. Make a new folder, download an image, install Git, clone a Git, install VS Code. Thanks for watching.